To the top, we have the Samsung S90D. To the bottom, we have the LG C4. The winner of this comparison is the Samsung S90D by a landslide. That is literally as fast as anyone can tell you. I did that in under 10 seconds. And smack a like on this video and subscribe for more transparent content like this. Now, because I value your time and I'm not going to waste it, I'm going to dive into some of the things that I, again, have seen during the course of this video. So again, what you're going to see is our talks of how it is with anime, how it is with gaming, how it is with movies, and round it in with final thoughts. So stay through until the end for that, and let's begin with anime. So the first thing you're going to notice as you look at the image on the screen is that the S90D is just dominating by a massive degree every little ounce of color. Particularly orange is where LG falls down to be the weakest I think I've seen this year out of everything. Now, some people might then, on the LG side of things that just want a WOLED, say it's not fair. Now, a little note here, I did get a couple of comments from people in the European region saying, hey, well, you know what, here it's a WOLED, to which I, at this point in the video, will say, I can only speak about the image quality in America, where I'm from. Now, that being said, if there's an issue, again, over the pond, sorry, but I don't have access to what you have over there. That being said, though, here in the States, it is exactly what I'm saying and what I'm describing. The orange is very weak. Again, to which a lot of people who like LG or just want one will say, oh, you're being unfair. So what we're going to do in the interest of fairness is hold our settings option. We're going to open up our settings. I've already got my settings dialed in. These are 100% to my standards, makes it look good. But let's say you don't agree. Well, we're going to go to filmmaker mode, the most accurate mode in the television. And then we're going to go ahead and hit reset. Okay, to which it will say all current settings for filmmaker mode will be reset. Do you want to continue? We're going to go ahead and say yes. So you've seen it in real time. It has officially been reset. You tell me which one looks better to you. That is going to be your prerogative. To me, it is very obvious and very clear that even with the most reference accurate mode that the LG has to offer, and make no mistake, it is reference accurate. I've run it through Calibration Studio, and it is reference accurate with delta errors below 3. So again, there's really nothing you could do. This is the reference accurate look, and it just looks poor. You're losing a lot of color in that orange, and that representation is weak as fuck. That's as fast as anyone's gonna tell you. Now, again, we'll go to some of the other modes. Let's say you don't care, you're not a purist. I like to watch everything in vivid mode, you might say. Okay, we'll select vivid mode. And in the interest of fairness, we're gonna go down to advanced settings, reset, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna hit reset, and we're gonna clear that off the menu. And there you go. Now I notice there's a ton of clipping in every aspect of the picture quality. It is also extremely blue around the borders, and it lacks the natural warmth it's supposed to on stone. This is nowhere close to being accurate. Will it make some colors pop and look a little bit more vibrant? Yeah, sure, but you see the sacrifice you have to make. So let's say I wouldn't use Vivid. That's what retail stores do. I use standard. Okay, now we're in standard. We go down to advanced settings. We go down to reset. And then we say yes, and more of the same. Clear off the information, and you can clearly see it is all very, very blue. There isn't an avenue you can take, no matter what mode you select, where you can escape how blue it looks. And you look at the depth, the color, the amazing difference between these two, and it'll blow your mind. Now, also, I did receive comments that it's not fair to use your custom settings because there are those that are finally acknowledging that I'm making the difference here. To which I would say, yes, I am the difference maker in this. However, if I go and open up my settings on the Samsung S90D and I go to the filmmaker mode, this is what it looks like. You can clearly see, again, I will go back into filmmaker mode on the LG and I will show, again, uncalibrated, both of them, what they both look like. And again, filmmaker mode to filmmaker mode, there you have it. This is far more accurate than what we have on LG. And you're seeing it. This blue in the shadows is just too distracting, and the green on the stone nowhere close to being accurate. Does this look amazing? Absolutely not. It's faded, it's pale, it's shitty. However, it still is starting from a stronger point of contrast, clarity, depth, and the bones are there. And when I look at these TVs, when I take them out of the box, I look for, are the bones there? The bones are just not here because, again, raised black, again, you can confirm that when we look at the shadow, that does not have raised black. And then we look at the stone here, again, it has improper color, not improper color. faces. You see her eye here and the bright highlight. There's supposed to be a dark shadow here. It's darker here. And then that dark shadow falls off on her hair here. It does not here. It's a little bit more faded. Again, leading to weaker contrast, less depth perception. So again, apples to apples, there's really nothing you can do to make the LG look better even out of the box than the S90D. So if you were like one of Tech with KG's viewers and you agree that whipping TVs out of the box and deciding a winner is the way to go, well, there you go. You still see there's your winner. I shit you not. There is no avenue you could argue at all to make this TV look better, because it will never look better than the S90D. Now, we're going to go back into my settings here that I have for standard, and we're going to continue forward, okay, by putting in my settings also on the LG, because I think we can at this point all agree nothing was done to the LG to make it look worse. It just genuinely looks bad out of the box, right? All right, fair. Now let's go back into my calibrated settings to my in-house standard, and bam, there you go. It looks a lot better. However, better is not a miracle. Because it has the weaknesses that it does, there's no way that you're going to get rid of all that blue you see over here in the shadows. That's still very much there, and that's not a part of the native content. It's not supposed to exist there. You're supposed to have the warmth of the ambient light on stone that is the appropriate color. And the face is supposed to have color to the face, where it's just green on LG. These little nuanced differences will play a role no matter what you watch, no matter how you watch. And you're seeing it here. And this example here, again, in another scene, you're noticing the vast difference in highlight control, how tight it is around the face, again, creating proper shadows, which adds a sense of immersion to this scene. And you believe the expression a lot more on the S90D because you feel that he is horrified. Here, it just kind of looks like, yeah, I mean, he's kind of scared, but I'm not seeing the shadows. Shadows tell a story as well when we talk about cinematography, photography, and they convey a mood, right? This is supposed to be very dramatic lighting to emphasize his expression. That goes a little bit more missed on the LG, again, and this is the same exact price point we're talking about. One isn't a different price from the other. So literally, at this point, if you spend the same money and you end up with a lesser picture, that is a choice that you do have to make. I don't think that it is a smart one, but everybody is entitled to do whatever it is that they want. And no, Samsung didn't put me up to this. And if you feel like I just glazed for Sony, or Samsung rather, go look what I had to say about their QN90C literally a year ago. I was not nice. I am only nice when it is earned. That is how reviews should work, and I'm here as a real reviewer. So I'm sure many of you are used to seeing fake reviews where people just say everything is amazing just so you can buy it or make you feel good about wanting to buy it. I don't give a damn that you want to buy an LG. That's not my problem. I'm going to tell you how it performs, and as you see, it performs like shit. And the same way, if this performed like shit, I would tell you, just like I did with Filmmaker Mode. I think this Filmmaker Mode looks like shit, like all of them. And it's the S90D. Do you think I'm going to glaze for a Filmmaker Mode just because it's an S90D? No. I'm going to tell you the truth. And as it stands, when you're truthful about things, there are details you are going to see and not see. Take this scene, for example. You're noticing that basically every single color across the board has a better throw as far as luminosity on the S90D. It just looks better. However, when we look at what we have on the LG C4, it holds details a lot better because it doesn't get quite as bright on this example, and so it does tend to look a little bit in the way of better. However, that then shifts back when we talk about any other color. Any other color is going to go right back to what we were talking about before, how again, you just lose the immersion. And that's the word I would use, specifically immersion. You don't have the strong highlight that you see in his sword right here on the LG. You don't have the strong highlight in the goggle. And in a scene like this, those two things are the only white highlights that you'll have, more or less, to really accentuate the dramatic level of this scene, like what's happening as he's literally jumping up in the air. And again, you can see it here as well in these really intense moments where they are intentionally choosing a lighting style to convey a moment of the scene. As you see here, again, you have the highlights over here on the arm, on the face, but that kind of is muted down to a massive degree on the WOLED. This is why manufacturers decide to go the route of mini LED over even WOLED in a lot of cases, and even Sony did it for their flagship, because even though they have a Bravia 8, they still believe that the Bravia 9 is better because, again, QD OLED can give you a lot, but also QD in general, quantum dots, give you an advantage in color that WOLEDs just don't have. And you're seeing it here. The intensity of the yellow of the lightning right here is so much more than anything that LG is doing, where it's dim, it's muted down, and it's just not impressive. I genuinely feel like I'm buying a TV from literally 5 to 7 years ago. And that's what the general feeling is, because I was around 5 to 7 years ago reviewing TVs as well, and this is what they looked like. They didn't have this refined pop and this shock and awe value, pun intended, that you have right here. Because if you look, there are no two ways about it. This is a just more boring image. Not that is bad, because again, it's not like there's grain everywhere or posterization like we had on the Hisense or anything like that. But the color is just dramatically and noticeably weaker. And again, to emphasize for the billionth time, you are paying the exact same price. There isn't a difference as far as how much money you're paying. You saw that green look weaker there. You're seeing the explosion weaker here on every level. You're seeing a weaker contrast here versus here, or rather, you're seeing stronger contrast here versus weaker contrast here, weaker orange here versus here, and the shadows in general all around the flame, and even the character himself, less black. It's like gray by comparison. And again, this is adding to what I was saying, that LG has a raised black problem. Again, not ideal. And this is with my setting. This is with my hard work. And you saw what it looked like before. It's not fantastic. And this is why I say, like, every year you're going to have to pick and choose what looks best for you, but I don't know. This year it's a clear slam dunk for Samsung, because if you look at a scene like this, you see the wand has its particle effects and everything like that, and you can see it on the hand and everything right here, and you can clearly see it. The highlights, this is what it would look like as he's casting a spell, and it's this very dramatic scene. On LG, this is all like, it just all looks the same luminance. It doesn't look like there's a luminosity change. And again, the lighting is everything when we talk about certain scenes. Look at the orange here. Look at how it cascades off of the ground in a way that is elegant and really makes the three-dimensional feel happen on the character at the top. The bottom, again, dim, lifeless, dull imagery. This is the kind of thing that really gets old after a while. These intense moments in anime where a character has like some lightning bolt that goes across their eye will be more dramatic on the S90D in a way that will make you really feel like, holy shit, I'm watching a story be told here, versus this where you feel like I'm just watching a TV. And I feel like at this point in the anime, this is where you would grab your remote and say, I need to fix something, because you would feel that you're missing the impact that, again, the director intended for you to have. Again, you can see a lot of the same thing when we talk about red. Now, this with my settings does look a lot better than it would have looked out of the box, because you can see the red is a little bit better, but at the same time, it's not the intensity that we're supposed to be having overall. And this message of a lack of intensity, a lack of being impressive, generally just looking several years older than it's supposed to, is what you can experience on the LG C4. And again, right back to this example where you're seeing the same kinds of weak image quality across the board, regardless of what you do. So when we talk about movies, take Alita Battle Angel, for example. You can probably already immediately see what's wrong with the LG C4 at the bottom. Again, this is what it looked like several years ago on OLED, particularly from LG, where at the top, the S90D is providing you that next level experience that you would have wanted. Isolation, highlight control, you get the ambient light from the moon in the background where you don't have it on the LG. The LG, literally, this whole highlight on the door here, it's supposed to be here behind her shoulder. It's almost like accentuating the isolation of the subject from the background, right? Like often backlighting tends to do. But you just don't have that effect, and it makes it fall flat. Again, you can look at another example like the purple here. Again, you'll see the purple looks way better here than here. It's just weaker, more muted. We're going to keep repeating a lot of this. Now, there is something to add to this where, again, the global brightness in this example is a little bit more impressive on just like this area, but this contrast is way better. Like there's no like arguing that. And I think, again, as you watch scene for scene play out, you'll notice a big difference. And again, it's not that LG doesn't have depth, because yeah, sure, totally can see good three-dimensionality here, and that's great and all, but we did have that level of depth years ago, as I showed in my comparison with the C1 versus the S95B versus, or rather the S95D versus the C4. So again, isn't even beating itself from a couple years ago. And again, just look at the ocean floor and how vibrant that all is, and how you see the proper sand bed because of the proper highlights, the boat at the top illuminated perfectly where it's all dark and dim over here. You wouldn't even know that there's a highlight that's supposed to be there on the LG. This is what you're missing for the same amount of money. Look at the contrast, the immense amount of depth and isolation that just does not exist here. This is proving that the algorithmic processing this year with Samsung's new AI that basically upscales everything to 4K is actually doing its job, because again, you can see each individual blade of seaweed at the bottom of the ocean here, where here it is more blurry by comparison. Look at the character, very bright, very well isolated. Even though there's a background, it still has all its information. And again, subject to background, it's like it's all blurry. And this is something that you're going to get really sick of on the LG, just the blurry imagery. Again, another example. Again, it doesn't matter how many of these you put up on screen, you're going to keep seeing a theme play out. Again, you're going to see sharp isolation of characters' faces, outlines. It's going to look like a really tack sharp photo on the S90D, where again on the C4 it's going to look very muted down, dumbed down to a massive degree, and it doesn't have to be that way. Bright scenes like this, where there's a highlight on a billboard, it's clear which one is going to take the cake. This looks blurry and dim and faded. And again, that's rocking my settings. If you were to use default settings, it would look even worse than what you're seeing here. So one thing I would say that LG consistently does have a good grip on is their cyan reproduction, as you're clearly seeing here. Samsung just not really getting it done the same way. Yes, there are ways to fix this, but in the interest of at least giving LG something positive, I will give them that. Moving on from that point though, that's probably the only thing that they can really offer. Now in this example, they are doing a good job of rendering yellows and things of that nature. However, again, on the Samsung, you can do something very, very similar by just augmenting your color. To be very clear, I am not using my custom color calibration on this, because if I did, we'd be blowing it out of the water even more, to a point where people would think I'm just glazing for Samsung. Yes, that's kind of cheating if I'm being honest, because there is a way that Samsung can look better, and I'm not using it because I want to help LG at least have something positive said about it. But that being said, I'm going to then switch over to my custom color settings, and then you're going to see the difference. And I swear I don't want to hear it, because this entire comparison I have been being fair. Okay, so now we have my custom color calibration in on the LG, or rather the Samsung S90D at the top, and the LG again still rocking my settings. But as you can clearly see, this is where it's starting to fall apart for LG. Even though before, in the last example when I wasn't using my custom color settings, it had better cyan. Well, now you can see Samsung cyan pulled way ahead. So again, like I said, there's a way that it's possible. And before anybody wants to talk any shit, I'm still using auto power save mode, my custom color calibration. And by default, this is what filmmaker mode would have looked like, the most reference accurate. We're then going to go down to settings. We're going to go in real time again. Here's my hand so you can see me hitting reset, which again, no one else on YouTube is hitting reset. So I don't want you comparing me to them, because I tell you what, I'm the only one willing to reset it for you to show you that this is just what it looks like. They're not doing that. And again, you can see apples to apples, same price point, OLED to OLED, it's just not keeping up. So again, for anybody feeling like because now it has a weaker example that I'm hurting it and yada yada, no chance in hell. Okay, so now we can go back to my settings. You see the shitty ass before, and this is the after. So clearly there was work done here. Now, that being said, it's not keeping up with what we see on the Samsung S90D at all. We go to the next scene, and again, you can see what I was talking about when I talk about cyan reproduction and luminosity in general. Just look at the amount of kick and throw that we're seeing. It's just mind-blowing. Everything's really 3D, very bright. That again, very dim. Again, we go back over here. I will give the edge in cyan still to LG in this example, because that is richer than what I have here, where it's just a little brighter by comparison. Again, you can see in this example though, this is where cyan is just blasting ahead in a way that just cannot happen here. It just looks blue, generally blue. And before, again, I know what people are gonna say. That's because you used BT 2020 to make it look worse, and of course it will blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, 11131111. I have a rebuttal for every excuse I'm about to hear. Again, this is auto, which defaults to Rec 709, and there you go. You're not getting out of this. This is what it looks like, right? And seeing what it looks like, it's very clear. LG's not. They don't have it anymore. Maybe at one point, when all we had were LED TVs, they had it. But now that their competitors have quantum dots, this is clearly the way forward. And anyone arguing that it's not, trying to say that I've seen these in store and it's not that big of a difference, or I've seen it on YouTube through other YouTubers and countless reviews and nobody has as big as a difference. I'm also the only one, like I said a second ago, willing to reset in real time to show you what you're not seeing in their videos, which is a proper reset and a proper optimization. And again, just to be a dramatic asshole for those who have been giving me grief for just being honest, I will for the millionth time go into the select mode, go into filmmaker mode, the most reference accurate, go down, here's my hand so you can see this isn't pre-recorded, right? And then we're gonna go into reset, right? And then we're gonna go ahead, click up, hit yes, clear the menu, and there you go. It still looks like shit. There's nothing you can do about it. This is what LG looks like. You need to accept it. And again, people that want to try to say in real time, well, that's because you're using your juiced up settings. Again, just to be a dramatic asshole because you have no idea. I live for this shit. Never challenge me when I'm right because I'll fucking show you your soul, because at the end of the fucking day, you're not getting around this. Filmmaker mode on the Samsung looks like shit. There it is. Look at it. It's still, they both look like shit equally. Now, I will give LG the skin tones in this particular example. That looks better than that from a skin tone perspective. But literally everything else about the picture then goes to the Samsung. So again, as we look, if you try to compare and go, oh, I want to see what they look like. This has the better contrast. This has the better color. This is more faded color. These kind of things you're not getting away from. You can try, you damn sure can try. And I've seen people in the comments trying, but good luck with that. Because again, when there's an innovation and there's a step forward, you need to know about it. And that's what this video is. It's for the buyers, it's for everybody out there who actually wants a good TV. And again, you're seeing the saturated, vivid awesomeness that is the S90D. Well, let's see where LG can be taken to. Okay, so this is the before in their shitty ass filmmaker mode, and this is the after with my settings. Bam. As you can clearly see, work has been done, but it still lacks that extra refinement, that boost and that explosion, that red beam that just bam, right? Like you feel that scene. The contrast in this little structure of the building, you feel that more. This is flat. This is a proper shade of sky blue. This is just whatever the hell LG came up with. It doesn't look good. Again, the limits of LG become apparent to anyone who's actually trying to find out what the peak performance is. Again, cyans look beautiful in this example, but one could argue they are also trending a little bit too green. Again, it will trade back and forth depending on what you're watching, because again, now the cyan reproduction up here in the water looks really good, very beautiful here. The red here is like really pink. So again, to each their own. This is probably one of the more dramatic examples between the two, where LG looks really like, literally like probably like 5-year-old TV, seriously 7-year-old TV in this example by comparison. And now the picture becomes clear. And to round off this entire video, it doesn't matter how hard you fight or how hard you try or what you say or what you do. You are not getting around certain limitations. I will tell you, this does have better information here. I can see his face a lot clearer, but you're not supposed to be able to see his face because look at what's happening right now in the scene with the trident. There's ambient light that's supposed to be kicked up a brightness when you hold something bright close to your face. There's a natural glow that's supposed to happen. That's not happening on LG, and instead they're erroneously trying to keep his face in full focus so you can see that. But that takes away from the effect, and the lighting, I think, is what LG needs to work on from an AI perspective. They don't understand lighting plays a factor into content. But I see this is where, again, Samsung has the advantage because they've made cameras before, you know, and again, you're seeing it, right? I think it was like their next line of television or cameras that they used to have back in the day. So they understand a bit about how to make cameras. And then, of course, there's Samsung series phones that are fantastic with AI. But you can clearly see they understand that there's a bright thing happening in front of his face. Don't try to get his detail back at the expense of the brightness. Here, they're like, screw the brightness. Let's get his face. Stupid. That's not how it works. And again, scene after scene, you'll see examples. Hold on here. Excuse me. I had a sneeze there. But you'll see it. Scene after scene, you'll see the examples that I'm talking about. You'll see his face. That is not what black people look like. That's too dark, too crushed out, not what it looks like. It looks ridiculous. Yes, they're preserving more information in the background, but at the expense at his face. It's stupid. The algorithm processing just doesn't make sense on LG the way that it should, and you're seeing it here in real time. Again, they make certain decisions that I don't personally agree with, but we're going to go over to the next example. We'll talk more about that. Okay, so here we are in Dead or Alive 6. And just showing you just a little bit of the character screen so you can kind of get an idea as to the color throw that it does and doesn't have on the LG versus, again, what we have on the Samsung. And you can kind of get an idea. A lot of the time, LG is just going to look worse by comparison. And what I'll do, I'll go in and pick, I don't know, I really don't care who I pick. I mean, because I think at this point in the comparison, most people kind of already know what's up. I do think that. Be my main guy here, Hayabusa. We're just going to go into it. Now, again, the thing about the Samsung too is like you just have a lot of depth and it just kind of keeps going for days and days. I mean, look at this example. Color quality is amazing, very detailed, very rich, right? And you're just not getting that same level of quality control when we talk about what we have on the LG. Where LG, again, dimmer, not as impressive, right? And this is kind of what it is. And now we're in an actual gaming example to show more of the same thing we've been showing this entire time, which is, again, LG's got a long way to go when we talk about color quality. Again, it's not to say that it's the worst TV on the market that you could buy. It's just if you had a choice, which you do, and you're coming at the price point of, again, the $1,400-$1,500 price range, which one would you rather have? And that's a repetitive question that needs to be asked because nobody else is asking in these videos. They're just like, yeah, well, it doesn't have color. And you notice you'll hear excuse making. I don't have to make excuses. I'm just going to show you. Now, again, ultimately where you fall on this and where you end up, that is up to you. But those are big differences I'm seeing right now on the screen. Like, look at that. Come on, be real with yourself. If nobody else, be honest with you. Shit, because that just looks bad. I don't even know how LG passed that off through quality control, I'm not going to lie. I kind of look at it and I'm like, what is actually happening right now? And what you guys might not know is during the whole reset of like getting over into game mode, I went into a mode that would intentionally lower the color saturation of the Samsung. So we're not even watching it where it just was a second ago. And so you can kind of get the idea that like this TV has the ability to go even further. And you're already seeing a big difference. And if you think I'm full of shit, in real time, again, just to be dramatic, because I like being dramatic, I'm going to take it from standard, I'm going to put it back into eco. I can even put it into movie mode if I wanted to. I have so many infinite options. I mean, endless. Endless options to make the Samsung look better. And that's the thing, LG doesn't have options. And I think that for me is kind of where I lose patience with it, honestly, because it's like, you know what? You need options when you're coming into such a high-end purchase, and that's just the truth. Now, that being said, I'll play maybe a couple more matches so you can get an idea. But really, there's no excuse to be buying WOLED in 2024. It's past its prime. It had its day back in like 2012, and we're not there anymore. And they've seen, after literally the C1, they've just been making the same TV every single year, and it has turned into an iPhone. They'll come out with things like MLA to trick the masses that don't know any better, say, oh, we've gotten brighter, not telling you that the white subpixel will literally make your colors look like horse shit. And that's not something any other YouTuber is going to say. They are afraid to use language like what I just used. We're all adults that talk this way in the real world, but yet they all rather be cringy and PG, and I'm not here to be a PG YouTuber. I'm going to tell you what it is. And what it is that you just got ripped the fuck off. And you're seeing it in real time. And again, the thing that I'm going to do in real time, just to be dramatic, again, the Samsung is too versatile to be beaten. You have so many different picture presets that like do different things that allow you to seriously get a different look each time. Now I'm going to go back into the color killing mode. Back where we were. And just to show you, even in my most nerfed out mode, it still looks better. It still looks better. I have less color now, in line with what we'd have on the C4. And I'm still beating its ass. Let that sink in. I mean, if you had, I mean, I would be pissed off. I'm not gonna lie. If I had a C4, I would, because now I'm stuck with a TV that I know is like shitty. Now, if you're new to this channel and you've just found me and you're like, damn, he's coming after my TV hard. It's just really, I hate seeing old things be sold at top dollar. This really, honestly, shouldn't be more than an $800 TV. $799 for the 55-inch, maybe $1,000 for the 65, and then you go up above. But I think even all the way up to the highest size, LG shouldn't be charging more than like, I'd say $15.99 should be like even for their biggest size, because it's old tech. There's nothing impressive about it. And no matter what a reviewer will say or how surprised they pretend to act every year on camera, when the cameras turn off and then the next year's model comes out, it's all the same shit. Now, I will give credit before I end this video to a couple of YouTubers, that being All Things Tech and Tom's Guide. They were the most honest as far as, again, mainstream media type people that will, again, tell you that just buy a G3, or rather a C3, because this is the same exact thing and there's not enough of a difference to justify the price increase that you are seeing. And to which I will then raise the bar and go above what they're saying and say, you know what, just buy the S90D because it's clearly better in pretty much every example that we've shown here today. Now, if you've seen what I've shown in this video, let me know in the comments down below. I think it's very obvious and it speaks for itself. But I don't know, maybe I'm tripping and I've just lost my touch. Who knows? But that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. This has been the S90D at the top, the C4 at the bottom. Let me know what you guys think about it again in the comments down below. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.